Chapter 3, Working with Sketches, Reference Geometry. First step is to learn, that's a little bit too far. Alright, working with sketches, reference geometry. The first step is to learn how to create the model. Solidworks, learn how to sketch. If you are coming from another history-based modeling program, many of your skills are transferable to Solidworks. If you never used the CAD before, think of the sketch feature relationship as creating a simplified 2D drawing representing a portion of the part that you can make with some sort of process such as extruding and revolving. So far, this book, you have looked at mainly a concept setting and the setups which are necessary but mundane. In this chapter, you begin learning how to control parametric relationships in sketches. Then later in the chapter, you will build models, simple as first, but gaining complexity always demonstrated with the new technique features that build your own model vocabulary. Beyond this, you use the parts to create assembly drawings. The chapter deals entirely with the sketches in part. However, you can apply many of the topics covered here to sketches and assembly and drawings, so related topics such as layout sketches have functionality exclusive to assembly. These topics will be covered in the later chapter. In this chapter, you will learn to begin a sketch, distinguish sketch techniques, create a relationship in sketches, examine sketch settings, use sketch blocks and parts, assembly drawings, and create and use reference geometry. Creating a new part. Before you can create a sketch, you must create a new part. To create a new part, you must follow the two simple steps. Click on the new tool, select the part template from this list. The part template will have the units and drafting standards already set. Each new part will start with some of the basic items. The items you need to focus on about the bar now are the basic planes and the origins shown in Figure 3.1 of the feature manager of the brand new blank with the part made from the template. The planes named again. Anything that you want, X, Y, and Z, front, top, right, Larry, Mo, Curly, or whatever the name of the schematic. The name of the scheme is determined by the person who saved the template. Figure 3.1 shows the feature manager for the new part. Chapter 1, Introducing SOLIDWORKS, has more detailed information on parts and templates of the setup of the SOLIDWORKS existing templates. Several templates are included with the download materials for this book. Create a sketch. By best practice for sketching SOLIDWORKS dictates that you should keep a few things in mind while creating editing sketches. Sketches need to be clean and precise with no gaps, overlaps, no strays. Sketch entities. It is best to keep a sketch simple. Complex sketches tend to fail to cause problems later. You should create sketches with a general design input. For example, the horizontal rectangle that adds to the details later. For example, the precise dimensions. It is best you pick the desired automatic relationship as you sketch rather than waiting for the create of the manual later. At the same time, you need to avoid extraneous, unwanted automatic relationships that you may get from the careless sketching. Use of reference geometry can save you from unwanted parent-children relationships between features. SOLIDWORKS allows you several workflows you can use the creative sketch. To try to simplify it, think of it this way. You have the sketch tool that opens the sketch. You have the tools such as line, arc, circle, and so on. You also have planes and planar faces, straight line segments, and straight edges. To create a new sketch, you have to make two selections. One selection must be a tool that tells SOLIDWORKS you want to make a sketch, such as sketch tool, line, arc, circle, etc. Second selection has to be whether you want the sketch to be located, such as a plane, planar face, edge of which perpendicular plane will be created. Here's one way to create a new sketch. Shows the click of the sketch tool. Notice at the bottom of the feature manager area. Click the front plane feature manager. Here's another way. Right click on the plane, either the feature manager or the graphics window if they are shown. Alternatively, you can click on the plane to call the context sensitive toolbar. Select sketch with the context bar on the top right mouse button. Click menu. Here's another way. Click on the line tool. Note that the feature menu, the disappear of the property manager, shows up in this plane. Flyout feature manager has actually moved over into the graphics window and has collapsed. Part 2, click the down arrow next to the part 1 symbol. Click the plane in the tree. Click the straight edge creates with the shown plane perpendicular to the end of the edge closest to the which you are worked. The plane will show you the feature manager automatically. This is an obscure trick that lots of existing users have forgotten. Whenever you create a sketch, several tools become available, specifically all the sketches and even tools, open sketches, selection filters, two very common sources of the frustration for the new users. If you have a difficulty selecting items that you want because the software won't allow you to select specific items because the items are grayed out, you could have an opening sketch that several indicators will let you know that when you are in sketch mode. The title bar in Solidworks window display with the text as Sketch X of Part Y. Lower right corner status bar display with the editing Sketch X. Confirming the corner display with the Sketch icon. The upper right corner of the graphics window. Sketch toolbar display with the text Edit Sketch. The red Sketch origin is displayed if you're using the grid displayed only in the sketch mode. While most users find the sketch grinding annoying and distracting, some of the new users use it as a reminder that they are in sketch mode with the tendency to forget that would like to visual cue. Sketch grind is a useful option. You find the setting with the display with the grid sketch mode with the tools option, document properties, grid, and snap. The sketch can be edited only when it's open. Unless the Instant 3D is off, the recommended you will turn it off except when you are intended to use. You can have only one sketch open at a time. SolidWorks uses many indicators to show the state of the sketch, including confirmation, corner, and text bar. Just as you create sketches with several ways, you can open an existing sketch with the right-click on the Sketching Feature Manager graphics window and select Sketch. Select Sketch from the Feature Manager graphic window. Click Sketch icon on the Sketch toolbar. Left-click the Sketch feature and click the Sketch icon on the context toolbar. Double-click on the sketch for the Instant 3D tool activate. Tip: the 3D view can be in any angle while you're sketching. If you prefer that, always show the sketch from the plane with the display using setting tool option Sketch auto rotate view normal to sketch plane on sketch. Creation, sketch, edit. Identifying sketch etnies. SolidWorks sketching tools include many types of etnies. Some of you will all use it all the time, and others you will never use and spend years working within the software. In this section, I offer the tips using each etny. Using the sketch toolbar in the following section, I first identify with the default buttons the sketch toolbar, followed by the rest of the etnies that you can access. Choosing tools, customize command, sketch. If taken a minute with hover over the cursor over the buttons, the sketch toolbar lets the tooltip come up when the bottom of the triangle to the right, with the triangle is the flyout button that provides access to additional tools, for example, line flyout. You can also select the center line as a construction line and a midpoint line as shown in Figure 3.2. 3.2 shows options with the line flyout bar. I personally like to turn off the schedule. Sketch toolbar and the command manager using separate sketch tool vertically on the right side of this because the backing and forth between the sketch and the feature of the command manager becomes a little tedious. Find it more efficiency with both toolbars showing at the same time. Sketch tools open to close the sketch. If you notice that the name of the button changes depending on whether the sketch is open or closed, with the reselect a plane or planar face. With the click on the sketch button, SolidWorks opens the new sketch with the planar force. If you pre-select the sketch before you click the sketch button, SolidWorks opens the sketch. If you pre-select the edge and curve feature before clicking the sketch button, SolidWorks automatically makes the plane perpendicular to the nearest edge of the curve. If you do not use pre-selection and click sketch tool, nothing selected, SolidWorks prompts you to select the plane or planar face of which you want the new sketch, existing sketch, edit. The third sketch tool opens with the closes 3D sketch for the numbers for selection and require. The 3D sketch is covered in more detail, chapter 6, getting more of your sketches. The Smart Dimension tool creates all types of dimension with the SolidWorks, such as the horizontal, vertical, align, radial, diameter, angle, and arc length. You can create dimensions several ways, shown in Figure 3.3, with the dimensions shown with the creative by selecting the line itself, moving the cursor in different locations to get horizontal, vertical, and align dimensions. You will return to Smart Dimension later in the chapter. The Line tool creates straight lines using one or two methods. You should practice the two methods to determine if one you prefer. If you used the other CAD products, you probably already have preference. Click. Method you for the drawing multiple connected end-to-end lines. Click and then release the left mouse button to start the line. Each click release to the end of the previous line. Start with a new one. Double click to cancel the first click. Button to remain in the line. Command press escape to exit the line. Command altogether. Deselect line tools to the end. Click and drag method to view the draw individual unconnected lines. Click and drag and drop the first click. Initiate the line and then drops ends it. Just a tip, some functions such as enable on-screen numeric input seems to function better with a click and then with click and drag. Alternate methods existing with the drawing lines include horizontal, vertical, angle, and infinite lines. Interfaces with these options appear with the property manager shown in Figure 3.3. Figure 3.3 show the insert line property manager, show the insert line X in the message editing segment next window. Edit sketch vertical, horizontal angle options or construction infinite length of the midpoint line, and it shows over here the modified window. Horizontal, vertical, these settings require you to select the start point, end of the vertical, horizontal position. No compelling reason for the user to start setting instead of the regular line command useful strictly to the world that can see with what I would use it for here. Angle. The setting enables to specify the angle and drag a line with the angle. Again, I find no compelling reason to use this tool. Infinite length SolidWorks provides parts of the working space limited to 1,000 meters on the side center on the origin. Infinite lines that extend with the well beyond this, although you cannot draw the dimension regular line outside of the box. The feature would be most useful if you are working with parts very divergent in scale. The feature, some of the large and some very small. To add a dimension option exists with the shovel sketch editing of the property manager that adds a smart with the dimension newly sketch editing with the option appear with the sketch editing of the property manager. Only setting with the tools option sketch with enable the on-screen numeric input on it. The creation is selected. On-screen numeric input on option is not the same with the input dimension value function. In fact, overrides the option. You cannot input dimension values when using add dimensions in the conjunction with the click and the drag sketching. It appears with the intent of the click sketching only so that you can enter the values between clicking. When you select the corner rectangle with the tools you create with the rectangle with the click on one corner with the dragging with the diagonal corner with the action creates 4 lines with a horizontal vertical sketch relation with appropriate. The corner rectangle is always available at the flyout icon with the corner rectangle, center rectangle, 3 points, corner rectangle, rectangle at an angle, 3 point, center rectangle, and parallelogram. Figure 3-4 show the flyout icons as well as the property manager and that for the rectangular, which also enables you to switch types of the rectangle easily. Remember the shortcut shown with the right cycle through all the rectangular options into the property manager. If you've activated any of the items under the rectangular flyout, you can press the A key to cycle through the rest of the items. If you have started with the sketching of the rectangle but have not finished with the pressing A key, will cancel out with the current rectangle and cycle with the next type. This better may be faster actually using the flyout. Just click on the first icon on the cycle to use the one you want. Cursor icon change with the show with the type of the rectangle it will presently sketch. Note the add dimensions check with the box property manager selecting the box while creating the rectangle. It causes the software to add dimensions. Line with the side of the rectangle with the options available with the line arcs and circle with the notice with the option with the conjunction with the enabled on screen with the numeric input on with the end of the creation setting found in tools option sketch. It makes the creating sketches at and to the correct side with immediately much easier. Parallelogram tool use the drawing of the parallelogram adjacent side with a non-perpendicular opposite side of the parallel. Click one corner of the parallelogram, then click the second and third corner of the first from the 3 point rectangular except the adjacent sides are not perpendicular. Figure 3-4 shows the rectangular flyout associated icons, corner rectangular, center rectangle, 3 point, corner rectangle, 3 point, center rectangular paragram, rectangular type, 1, 2, 3, and add reconstruction, existing regulations, static, add relations, horizontal, vertical, fix, other options, construction parameters. Note, the shaded sketch down towards turned in the default with the option add shading, end of the sketches where the add and you close our area to end lines of the arcs or whatever if you have to touch at the end points, not necessary with the middle line with the close circles and close an area, therefore with the shade with the option with the partially diagnostic tool with the useful of the one-click selection contour etnies. You will also find the useful when you use a subset of the sketch to create a single feature. Note that you cannot create with the multiple features using the contour of one large sketch. You can turn the other option with the sketch toolbar through the means of the tool sketching settings and shade with the sketching contours. The circle tool creates a circle using the 2 methods with which are available for either the flyout icon and circle property manager. Center creation clicks the center of the circle to drag the radius of the circle of the property manager called the function center creation. Parameter set creation. To create a circle using the technique, you must select the parameter creation option in the circle property manager window. After clicking circle type, there are separate parameters creation toolbar button, the menu selection tool sketch, and these parameters circle that creates only tangent relation with the other edge of the current sketch with the view of building a circle with the model edge of the edge of the other sketch you will need to apply with the relations. Manual SolidWorks calls for these functions perimeter creation. Tangent to 2 etnies. Start with the circle with the cursor need on one line in the sketch with the tangent symbol appear with the cursor with the yellow background. Click and drag with the diameter of the second tangent etny where the similar cursor should appear with the release of the button and right click with the green check mark icon. The process is shown figure 3-5. Tangent 3 etnies use the same problem with the tangent with 2 etnies but with the right click with the green check mark and after the dropping the second tangent with the drag again in third tangent etny. Creating a circle, show the circle type, the parameters X, Y, and to the the arrow to the radius, and show the radius, and a right-click button. When you select with the center arc tool, you can create with the arc by creating a center dragging with the radius for the clicking and the dragging with including the angle of the arc. The first 2 steps are exactly like those of the center radius circle. And you see the center radius, center point arc tool on the left. Then you see with the tangent arc tool, create the tangent existing sketch depending on how you move the cursor away with the ending of the existing sketch at any of the arc with the tangent and a reverse tangent perpendicular shown in figure 3.6. Figure 3.6 uses you with the tangent cart. You have these perpendicular tangents and original reverse tangent. Another way to create a tangent arc called the auto transition. Start with the drawing with a line from the end of another section, and either holding down with the left mouse button, pressing the A key, return to the cursor, start with the point with the drag it to. Again, the second method that can be difficult with the master, same time, it saves time with compared with any of the technique switching the sketch tools. Alright, now you have your 3-point arc tool, and that's on the left. That creates the arc, and the first establishing endpoint for the establishing for the included arc is shown in figure 3.7. Again, when the tool works for either the click, or click and drag methods. Figure 3.7 show the 3-point arc, and the click and drag, and show the radius and the arc 3-point. Sketch fillet, create the sketch fillet within two ways, either with the select with the endpoint sketch of the end even intersects. You can select with the line with themselves, select with the portion that you want to keep. The figure 3.8 illustrates the both techniques. So to the left you have your sketch fillet, and then below that you have your select sketch chamfer tool on the same flyout sketch fillet with the made by default sketch chamfer. Does not have the light list sketch selection button box, but by the way the fillet does, it does not use preview like the fillet. Figure 3.8 shows creating a fillet. You have the selecting lines, and you select the midpoint, the connecting point, and then you give the radius of the result. Your sketch fillets, although sketch fillet tools use the may align with the way of the working TD program, not considered the best practice of sketch fillet extensively. Some of the reasons for this include large changes of the size of the shape of the result of the rest of the sketch, that can cause the feature built of the sketch to fail with the Solidworks of the parameter programs as well, but the other difficult solve with the tangent arcs in some situations. You can see with the fillet tangencies that go around 250 degrees instead of just 90 degrees. Using many fillets of sketch can often cause trouble. If you want to remove the fillets temporarily, the good way to do this, you have the sketch fillet. Sometimes feature the under order requires other feature of the draft and come before the fillet, which is difficult to do if they part with the sketch. Some 2D fillets simply can create with the required 3D geometry. Fillet features are preferred method of creating round and fillets. The same can be said for the chamfers. Still, sometimes you need the tangent arcs in the sketches. You will have to decide which way works best for each of these situations. Center line follows, and to the left show the center line follow with the same method of the regular lines and is called the construction line. In some cases, the construction is construction center line circles and not available directly, but you can create them by selecting construction option property manager for the etny. Alright, then it moves to the spline on the left. The spline tool draws the free-form curve. The splines may either be the single closed loop or an open loop. Either case, the spline is not allowed to cross itself. You can draw the spline by clicking each location where you want to add the control point. Figure 3.9 identify the element of the spline. Detail element image show the construction of the spline. Handling splines are mainly the free-form complex shape of the 2D and 3D sketches. Although you can also use anything which would use other than sketch elements if you need more of the information about splines and complex shape modeling. Refer to Solidworks Surfacing Complex Shape Modeling Bible Wiley 2008. Figure 3.9 shows structures of the spline, show the control polygon, inflection point, spline points, minimum radius, and then you shows a combination direction, magnitude handle, and direction handle. Alright, to the left it shows a square box. The point creates the sketch point with the side with a limited case of lofting of the point. Using the point for the constraint checks of the fill feature for the sketch points are usually used with the reference for the pattern for the location center point with the whole wizard features. You can also use the sketch point virtually sharp. Two sketch point entities do not actually intersect the cover of the fillet chamfer. The select of the two entity with the clicking of the point tool with the create for the point with the location where it would intersect with if they were extended. This is useful with the dimensioning to sharp the virtual sharp to display with the control of the document property setting with the and then you see on the left you see the 3D sketch plane tool creates a 3D sketch. Discuss the 3D sketch with more detail for the chapter 6 by select with the plane with the 3D sketch. You get most of the benefits you usually with the 2D sketch. You can do with the deal with the history of the between the sketch with the before coming to much work over the course. You should look over some of the shortcomings of the 3D planes. Planes are treated just like any other need with the 3D sketch, which means with the assignment of the sketch for the relation of the two of them. I mean that they can move it around with the sketch the way they sketch for the etnies do. Then shows a perpendicular right angle. The add relation with the display with the property manager window and enables you to apply the sketch relation with the interface that appear with the obsolete because it's easier to simply sketch for the items than apply with the relation with the contact with the toolbar property manager window that appears to automatically select them. However, they are suitable for workflow related reasons for this using this tool. Using adding relation dial blocks back to advantage over the simple selecting, sketching, and adding relations. When adding relation property manager active, you do not need to use the control key to select multiple entities. You also do not need to clear the selection before making the new selection for the next relation. Two reasons sound minor, but if you have a large number of sketch relations to apply, but the workflow goes much more smoothly using the tool than the default mode. Those show the perpendicular with the eyeball. Display and delete relations tools enable you to look through the relations in the sketch with the short with according to the shuffle categories for this window. You can delete with the suppress relation with the replace entity within relations. Alright, the circle with the dot and the right and in the right triangle is a quick snap flyout, enables you to quickly filter types of editing sketch elements while the snap the move of the create them to activate the tool. Click with the drop down arrow to the right of the toolbar button. Alright, your mirrored entities on the left that show the icon. The tool mirrors selected the entities by a single selected center line with apply the symmetric sketch relation with addition from the dynamic mirror for the function described later in this chapter. Now you see with the cube with a blue edge, the converting entity with the converts edges of the curves and sketch elements with the sketch into the entity with the current sketch with the edge of the non-parallel with the sketch plane with the converted. And you've the feature project with them into sketch plane some of the elements with maybe the impossible with the convert, for example, the helix, which would produce the projection overlap so with the sketch for the entities created with its convert entity with the get on the edge sketch relation. Alright, now you see an offset, which is just any old shape. The offset entity command with the converted entity features except for the offset with the sketch for the one side with the other projection with the original edge of the sketch for the curve with the offset with the entities does not have a selection block. Figure 310 show the property manager interface for this command. 310 show the offset interface offset entities interface. So the pin mark, close mark, check mark, parameters, admission, reverse, selection, chain, bidirectional cap, and arc lines, construction geometry based on offset geometry. The option available the offset entity with the interface is followed with the added dimension for the option and constraints for the offset sketch entity with the inside of the on edge of the relation for the offset entities created with the offset sketch relation cannot be recreated manually. Reverse the option chain with the direction with the offset with the select chain with the select the continuous end-to-end sketch entity with the bidirectional option with both sides with the simultaneously cap end with available only when you have select with the bidirectional option with the capping end of the arc as an easy way to create a slot for the sketching with center line with the function works for the sketch entity not limited to straight slots. Figure 311 shows the example of cap end only. On a copy cap ends option. Construction geometry with the option enables you to select with the geometry if any you would like to make the construction geometry with the original selection of the entity that are offset. 311 show the offset with the entities interface. Show now we've offset with these lines. The offset and the entity command may fail with the offset with the distance greater than the smallest of the radius of the curvature. Attempting with the offset with the inside of the arc. The additional with the bidirectional offset with the cap end with the Solidworks that has a lot. Slot sketch with the entity with the straight with the curved slot with the covered later in the chapter. The composite slots made with the combination straight with the curved selection sections will require the offset method. Now you see with the scissors cutting a perpendicular. This is the trim tool. Actually, several functions rolled into one, including extending and deleting sketching. Action figure 312 show the property manager interface with this function. So I give you the trim and the message, and then the options for the power trim, corner trim, trim in the way side, trim in the way outside, trim to the closest. Power trim with the trim with the dragging with the cursor trail over the multiple end with the energy with the drag with the cursor with the trim back with the extend with the U with the when using shift key with the next intersection and sketch end with the each time with the trim with the end with the red box remaining with the over the trim with the next end with the backtrack with the cursor with the touch with the red box with the trim with the undo with this is the option best used when you need to trim with a large number of it and that easy to hit with they remove the cursor. Figure 313 show the power trim feature with the action. You can also use the power trim the extend with the sketch end with the line with the path of the dragging with the end points. Regular and dragging can also change with the position orientation of the rest of the entity by using the power for trim feature. You can affect with it only with the length. Power trim action show the and then the trim and extend with the two select with the entity with the nearest intersection. When you leave the corner option with the trim with the select with the portion with the sketch entity is kept. Anything on the other side of the corner is discarded. Show that the two ways of the corner option can work. Alright, you have the corner option. Now you've selected the corner of these trimming away inside with the select of the entities inside and select the boundary with the boundary away arc or boundary may consist of a pair of the sketch entity with the model face with the edge of the face that you used to add with the boundary Only yet with the cross below the selected boundaries clove the closed loop of the face boundary twice can be trimmed with the option does not trim with the closed loop such for the circle, the ellipse, or the closed spline. Trimming away outside of the functional example, the trimming away of the inside option, except for the sketch and even the outside of the boundary, are discovered with the trim as away inside with the trimming away outside of the option illustrated in figure 315. Using 315, use the trim away inside, trimming away, and outside options to the trim to the closest view with the default selection. Click on the sketch etnies. Trim back of the next etnie if there's only one cross etnie. Trims between crossing if there's more than one. Delete the etnie with the no crossing etnies. In all cases, select the selection of the etnie is remove the trim to the closest option that can also be extended with the drag one etnie with enough of the intersection as possible with the first etnie with extend with the second etnie. Figure 316 illustrates how the trim the closest to the option function. Figure 316, you put the trim to close close the extend. The construction geometry tool toggles the trim of the regular sketch etnie with the construction etnie with the construction sketch if it did not have created solid surface with the drag. Faces directly, they are used only for the reference. For example, the revolve center line with the extrude with the pattern direction. So with the fourth, with the be careful with the icon with the function because of the looks almost identical with the no solve with the move of the icon, especially per-handed in grade scale. Alright, to the left is a sketch tool with the intent with the U of the sketch, wherever the enough of the dimension of the make particular chain with a difficult change of the dimension. Only with the sketch enables you to specify with the chain with the several dimension of the simultaneously. Figure 317 show with the sketch being stretched. Notice one of the lines is not selected with the top. The top vertical line becomes angled and loses with the vertical relation. Figure 317, you with the stretch tool show the etnies, the lines, parameters X and Y, and then the main idea to remember the stretch tool is U with the stretch of the dimension line with the U need to select the line with the length of the short and well with the line with the will move, the cover the collecting edge with the sketch with the bold best done with the right left window with the window selection or lasso which select with any of the items of the selection box creation left of the right window selection selects only items of the completely within the selection box. And then to the right, you see the move, rotate, copy, and scale. Sketch tool operates only in selection with the sketch. You can move these tools with the pre-post of the selection method. The tool deletes the existing select sketch relation when necessary to accomplish with the task. For example, if you want to move the rectangle to connect with the origin, move the tool to delete the coincide with the relation with the trim and the scratch endpoint and with the origin. If you want to rotate with the rectangle, with the rotate tool delete the all horizontal and vertical relation with the etnie with it being rotated with the operation may result with a completely underdefined sketch. The Solidworks does not warn you that the sketch relations are being deleted. If you have the scale tool with a fully defined sketch, the Solidworks scale with the position of the sketch etnies, leaving sketch relation with the necessary to do so, but no dimension scales are deleted. Caution: be careful when using the sketch tools. You can delete sketch relation without warning. Some of the tools can detect box keep relations. Sketch tools originally put in software to avoid some of the complexity of the limitation modifying sketch tools, which can also move with the copy to rotate scale sketches. Figure 318 show the simple interface for the move at etnies command select with the etnie to move the upper box with the method to move them from the parameters box. Figure 3.8 show the move etnie with the interface, show the move of the etnie with the move of the keep the relation for the parameters, and the arrow, the select tool is usually found with the turn off the preview of the command with the return of the cursor to the default state is not found with the toolbar default interface. The grid snap tool is open with the grid snap section of the tools open as the document properties, and then they show the polygon tool, which is a hexagon over there on the left icon. Creates a regular and n-sided and number-sided polygon, same way with the circle. Click with the same with the drag of the radius, and you see with the number of sides with the property manager before clicking the graphic window. Then you see the ellipse created with the clicking, the same with the dragging the one axis with the dragging with the other axis. Then you see a partial eclipse clip with the clipping, and the same with the dragging the axis with the dragging with the other axis, and then clicking and the dragging and including a with the partial eclipse. The partial eclipse, the feature works like a center port arc command. Then you see a down parabola created with the clicking of the location, focus with the dragging with the position of the apex with the clicking with the dragging, including the angle of the parabola rarely used. Sketch etnie often difficult to control with the sketch relation with the dimension. Then you say a conic with a special curve U with the create with a smooth shape with the limited with the convexity with one side of the spline. Have the point of the inflection of the cannot. It's similar to partial ellipse, but have an additional point called the top vertex of the property manager created with the conic place for the two endpoints of the place for the top vertex for the final place for the shoulder to achieve the figure 319. You're familiar with the system G with the RHOP value. You can specify the value in the property manager. Alright, to the left you'll see the spline on surface tool with the 3D sketch for the drawing with the free form of the spline with the 3D shape with the spline on surface the feature with the cross face boundary with the line with the feature Face is the least tangent with ideally curvature of the continuous across the edge of the spine with the on surface that can be used on the trim and surface of the create split lines. The figure 319 shows the drawing canonic existing relations under defined add relations option parameters. Then you show the first click, second click, and then the third click, and then your fourth click would be the shoulder. Alright, this A show the sketch text tool create the edit the text box with the sketch for the tool true type of the fluent fonts installed with the window fluent fonts folder. Some fonts produced with the sketch for the unusable for the solid feature for the do with the violating sketch rule with the overlapping with the zero thickness. You need to be careful with the fonts you select. If I have been successful with a wide variety of fonts I found over the internet. Sketch text may be dissolved into lines arcs so that you can edit the manually with the dissolve available to the right mount button. Menu figure 320 points over the key elements for the sketch text interface. Some of the machine describing functions you want. Single line with the sketch text fonts for the Solidworks. Then default with the function would be the OLF simple sans OC. Note the link to the property icon enables you to link the sketch to the text, sketch text to a custom property or to the configuration specific custom property. You the configuration property deriving of the sketch text can be valid with the function. Alright, over here show the intersection curve tool sketch with the 2D sketch where the sketch plane with the intersect with the selected face with the 3D sketch with the intersection curve with the sketch with the tool creates a sketch where any of the types of selected faces intersect. This can be extremely useful in many of the situations. Figure 320 show the text have been attached with the curve of the created with the current sketch show the sketch with the curve of the conics and then sketch of the text and then show the different justifications and some text edits. Alright, the grid with a curve on it show the face curve of the tools apply with the underlying UV ISO parameters match with the selected face. The most commonly use the elevation tool with the complex surface that you can also use the curve of the rebuild faces. Simply resolve with the clicking OK curve with the separate 3D sketch for each of the spline unless for each you have 3D sketch up open before clicking on the face curve. If you want to change case you get a single 3D sketch and all curve. The figure 321 show the original surface and the result of the view of the face curve of the complex plotted surfaces. Figure 321 shows using face curves on a complex surface. We have the down printed line extended tool and extend the sketch and upon with the new intersection of the sketch. And this does not confuse with the extend for the surface that the power trim tool mentioned earlier can be used to extend if you hold down the shift key while dragging the cursor over the sketch element to be extended. Alright, then it shows the split and the tool split for the sketch and within 2 seconds automatically adding appropriate sketch relation for the automatic adding the collinear, co-radial, the tangential relation with the line with the arcs and splines. You can also delete them later with the rejoin with the end of the back of a single segment. You should be aware that the rejoining works only with a collinear relation between the line segment and the co-radial relation between arcs and tangent with the equivalent quadrature with the relation between the spline. But if you split with the delete with these relations, then it cannot be rejoined. Closed loop etnies require at least 2 split points. Alright, then it shows the lightning bolt with a mirror. The dynamic mirror command you can be with the pre-select center line with the dynamic mirror with the turn on with the new sketch with the draw automatically mirror to the other side with the center line with the ends of the mirror with the head with the catch mark with the on them with the remind you that you are mirroring turned on. The word caution is the line drawing the normal with the center line with the end point with the center line if you would double in size. Then you see 3, 4, and 4 dots and a hashtag. The segment tool with the either place with the equally spaced with the sketch point with along with the edge each for the existing sketch and with the break with the end with the up to the number the equal links. Everything that's active with the pattern with along with the curve of the result of the segment is editable with the you can select with the default add points and it will automatically auto space dynamically. This is excellent tool for the whole wizard and sketch-driven patterns. Now you see 4 rectangular arrays. Linear sketch pattern tool creates 1 or 2 dimensional pattern with the sketch and you can define with spacing angles. Then show the crosshair with the drawing cross-section sketch pattern tool creates circular pattern and sketch etnies. Best practice should be sketch patterns and listed as possible for many of the same reason. Fillet feature for the preferred over the sketch fillet pattern feature for the preferred over the sketch pattern. With the sketch pattern with the non-editable with the flex pattern. Flexible as feature patterns, they solve slowly and especially when they pattern many at need of the best practice to avoid sketch patterns unless there is no alternative. Alright, now you see like in a lobe kind of picture. The make path of the function and the 10 with the help create with the machine design motion with the sketch and the mystic with the cam type motion allow with the helpful need for the You do not need to make the block of the cam of the first. You can right click with the block of the select the bank of the path of the tangent relation with the path that enables the flower with the roll around with the end of the parameter. Next, see a square with the target and plus or minus. The modified sketch is one of the few remaining dialog box interfaces software that does not use the property manager that enables able to move the rotate the scale of the sketch as well as the mirror about horizontal vertical axis with both the axes simultaneously. Figure 322 show the interface which consists of the dialog box specific special origin like symbol in contact with the sense of the cursor. Both left and right mouse buttons have special function for the chain with the cursor for the moved over the three knobs with a special modifying section of the origin of the right mouse button enables you with the mirror of the rotate with the sketch. The left mouse button enables you with the move of the origin and move of the sketch. The function some limitations when you with the sketch within the external relation. Certain function with the disable the warning message that may appear saying you need the move of the external relation to go back to get the particular function to work correctly. Best you with the controlling with the orientation derived sketch for the maybe default cannot be internal relations. No solve move the option enables to move the sketch entity without solving any of the relation with the sketch. If you select the option, you can move the entity without relations. And it shows the modified sketch interface in 322, which has a scale, sketch movable origin, translate X and Y, rotate factor, position selected. Where other ways not to be allowed with drag and collinear relation prompted with the choice of the delete with existing relation with the continue with the copy data and with the relationship. With an show of the image with the sketch picture play for the sketch line with the sketch plane with the listed with the feature manager with the intent of the sketch of the child. Sketch picture may be expressed independently from the rest of the sketch. When the sketch is hidden but the picture is not visible, you can easily move the reside with the rotate with the sketch picture for that as well, and they'll be applied with the transparent background color to them. The sketch pictures are usually used when tracing over the plane or decal without need of the rendering. Alright, now you have an FX, which is an equation-driven curve tool that creates the sketch spline driven either with an explicit or a parametric equation. Shown in figure 323, explicit equation in form of the y equals the fx or function from the parameter equation with the multiple equations driven with the common parameter value of the form x. X cosine t and y sin tangent sin t. O is greater than t and greater than pi. T is the number of the radius. The result of the proportional plane spline with a sketch for the not curve with the feature for the name with the suggestion that you can drag with the spline and shuffle the endpoint of the 2 and 3D Solidworks calculation, the new transformation, reposition with the sketch with the sketch relation for the dimension. Start with the equation driven the curve with the 2D sketch with the get with the form of the 2D curve of the equation. You can start with the 3D sketch to get the form of the 3D curve after the spline with the created. You can not remove the relation with the equation from the manually edited with the spline. They are tied with the equation until we delete the entire spline. One way to get around with the limitation would be to create the equation driven the curve and in one with the sketch with the opposite open with another sketch with the converts the entity with the copy of the spline with the delete on the edge of the relation. Using the simplified spline with the add with the control point with the technique with the commonly used with the other types of curve that does not enable the update with the overall side with the shape of the spline with the equation, but you can manually adjust the sections. A curve originally created from the equation. An example of that where this might be useful would be in lead or lead out, lead in, lead out over the cut over the thread of the special attachment loop of the middles of the spring, a flared around edge of the lens, and or reflected dish for monitoring. Alright, 323 show the equation driven the curve and manager of the equation, merve message equation type explicit for the parametric and then parametric y and x and number 1 and 2 values. Equation driven the curve of the mesh of the explicit for the parameters x and y t's and t with the number of the radiuses parameters 1 and 2. And you can lock those. Straight solid slot which is an oval, and curved slot which is a curved oval. Tools draw slot given with the width of the length of the flow of the round with the end of slot sketches and the entities can be seen on the property manager shown in figure 324. Need with the composite slots. The slots multiple entities you need to use bidirectional sketch offset with the cap end for the mentioned earlier. 323 show the property manager for the slot and sketch entities that show the slot types 1, 2, 3, and 4. Add dimensions and then for construction parameters x and y and the length and dimension lines. Alright, driving sketch for the smart dimension with all the dimensions, Solidworks sketch for the creative with a single tool with the smart dimension for the dimension over the half of which can you with the drive with the chain with the sketch for the position over the half of the being sketch for relations. Smart dimension tools can be used with the create the length with the point to point with the line with the angular radius with the diameter for the arc length with the dimension and even the reinforced with the non-driven with the dimension. By default, Solidworks install the same call with the instant 2D activated with the instant 2D. Relative to the new, has some of the advantage of the disadvantage. One of the advantages is that it enables you with the drag of the dimension and handle it in shown figure 325. And one of the disadvantages is able to disable the modified box shown figure 326. 325, dragging a dimension with the instant with 2D activated. SolidWorks sometimes works with you with a new function with activity with the default with allowing you to decide with the dumb and the easy with the dumb with a quick later just go with the new function on with the new function on. You keep it, you can turn it off. The downside can be a bit of an initial confusion. I think that you can use case for the instant 2D. You should allow users to turn it on if they want. New setting adds easy with the expand with the precision dimension. If you want to drag with the tab of the precision, you would have to put the dimension on it. You can turn it off with the instant 2D. Deselect the instant 2D tool. Sketch command manager to tab. The rest of the box will assume the option with the turn off. When you play with the native dimension with the just created with the SolidWorks automatically puts you into the modified box, which enables you to edit the dimension some of the ways. Disable the option, remove the check with the setting with the tools option, general input dimension value with the setting off. You will play with the dimension with the display with the modifying box. Change with the smart dimension with the value with the several ways you with the modified box shown. Figure 325 of the most direct method is the key value with the shown is 4.052 with the software. Assume with the document and use unless if the key with something specific, you can also key with the expression even with the mixed unit with the such with the 8.5 millimeters to do over divided by 2 plus 1 2 plus 1/8 of an inch and 25.4 plus 5/8 of an inch. You can also keep with the negative dimension of the function of the same with the change dimension of the direction. Modify the box. The right over the drop down here with the pair up with the down spill. Spin arrow with the enable you with the chain with the value with the modifying of the box. Incremental box. You can select set with the increment. Figure 325 shoot with the modifying with the dimension blocks. Show the modifying and then over here with the dimension that's highlighted and you show the dimension in the millimeters. Tool option, system option, the spin box increment. You can also show the multiple, the increment value with the increment value with the icon modifying box. Final way to chain with the value with the modify box. You with the wheel underneath the value field with the wheel. You with the default with the increment value with the pressing control while you with the wheel multiplies the increments by 10. Pressing Alt 1, you with the wheel divides the increments by 10. Once you with the create with the dimension for the determine that you need with the modifier with the box. Again, you click on the existing dimension, modify with the box reappear. With the value of the new selected dimension, select the sketch for the dimensions can be displayed with the dual unit. For example, the inch of the millimeter with the U with the dual dimension, with the panel with the dimension property, with the here look for the dimension properties interface. Figure 327. The radio create the dimension from the selecting the arc of the place for the dimension. If you want the radial dimension for the complete circle, you must re-click with the dimension and go after you create it. Selecting the display option, select the display at the radius, the display with the diameter toggle. With the alternatively, you can use the radius or diameter leader display with the option with the leaders tab with the dimension property manager for the diameter. You create with the dimension for the select with the complete circle with the placing of the dimension. If you want the diameter dimension of the arc for an arc, use the right mouse button menu with the dimension with the property dialog box. Select the diameter dimension option. No, along with the radius diameter dimension, you may also want a dimension between the arc and circle with the tangent with the nearest point with the shift key. Select with the smart with the dimension for the tool. Select with the arcs near with the tangent point with the alternate with the chain with the dimension from with the same with the center dimension the max to max dimension. With you can change the drag. You can drag the dimension attachments point with the tangent points with the dimension properties. Angle. You can create angle dimension in the two-way with the angle to be driven between the two straight lines. Simply select with the two straight line with the plate for the dimension. If you are creating the included angle to dimension from an arc where there are not necessarily any straight. Figure 327 with the dimension property management, the dimension with the dimensions. Show the value leaders and others. The first value with show the styles and tolerance parameters from precision. Primary value dimension text is in dual dimension. The dimension in leader shows witness to the leader displays. U with the document band length with the later dimension lines. U with the document display. Extension styles custom text position. And then other would be override units, text fonts, and options. The read only and driven. Lines drawn with it, make with the smart dimension tool, act with the select with the vertex angle, then select with the two outlying point with the shown figure 328. You create an angle with the dimension between the lines with the orthogonal direction. To do this with the smart dimension with the tool, act with the click on the line, then click with the end point of the line. 4 orthogonal arrows will appear. Click on these arrows the direction to complete the angle dimension. So now we've shown 4 arrows, the order of importance, selecting first. 328 dimensioning and including angled without lines. So there's your dimension on your angle. Arc length, create with the dimension, selecting arc endpoints with the smart dimension tool for the display of the arc and the length of the arc. Alright, using tool with the dimension relation with the toolbar. The dimension relation with the toolbar with the tool with the already seen with the name with the suggest with the contain with the tool with the helpful the either to create with the investigate with the dimension with the sketch relations. Figure 329 show with the default toolbar by the following pages. You look at all of the toolbars available. The tool customize command with the dimension relation with the tools are available. The dimension relation with the toolbar. Figure 329 show the dimension of the relation toolbars, and show that all the different types of the smart dimension would be the first one. Let you the dimension sketch anything to combine with the shovel dimension method as a single tool, so horizontal, vertical, line, radial, diameter, and so on. Then you show the auto insert the dimension automatically adds the dimension appropriate to select the sketch entities. The horizontal dimension apply with the dimension sketch aim to drive the horizontal distance between the selected points of the parallel lines. Vertical lines works for the horizontal dimension, but vertical. Your baseline show the line with a ruler and an arrow. The baseline to create the dimension for the documents on the baseline dimension for the tool different with the most of the different tool defined with the dimension relation for the toolbar. The created driven dimension for the view of the geometry for the driven dimension for the sketch geometry for the drawing. Both dimensions cannot be used with the sketch geometry and parts. Baseline dimension originate with a signal reference that you can select with the adding additional reference of the dimension of the stack and show in figure 330. 330 shows your baseline dimensions, so now we've had this baseline, and then they build up on top of them. The other ordinate show with the star with the dimension, show with the drive with the dimension, with the set with the ordinated dimension originate with a common 0 point with these dimensions. The use of the dimension single, simply click the 0 location, play for the 0 dimension, then click the additional point with the dimensions, or play for the automatically align with the rest of the dimensions. Note, if you've not selected any of the 0 reference over the ordinate dimension feature for the default with the horizontal ordinate, you can remove the ordinate dimension with the common alignment with the right clicking the dimension selecting with the break alignment with the ordinate dimension jog automatically. The Solidworks a sense of the dimension with the getting too close with one another. You can also jog them when manually. After creating an ordinate dimension set, you can add it by with the axis from the add to ordinate command with the right mouse button and with all of the options for the ordinate dimension shown in figure 331. No, all listed options are available in the model sketch of environmental. Some are available only in the drawings. And 331 show the option of the baseline dimension. Link value of the reverse direction driven the mark from the drawing. Add to the ordinate. Display option jog, rejog ordinate, show parentheses, show intersection, break line, show alignment in the notions, just a few. Your chamfer dimension of the type of the dimension only driven and only apply with the drawing documents of work. First selecting the chamfer to select the edge of the reference edge of the however the sketch of the chamfer the tool with the edge of the dimension chamfer with the sketch with when you the chamfer that's created. Alright, you have a polyline on a grid. The automatic relation for the toggle enable to disable the automatic configuration of the sketch relation with it while the sketching. Toggle is available the tool sketch settings the automatic relation for the automatic relation that helps you with create the intelligent and sketches for the last manual intervention. Although you will take with a little practice is well worth the effort. Caution, as with the automatic function, there are times that the automatic relation will do things you do not want to expect with the sketching with the recommended with the ones with the curve of the relation for the automatic apply. With the sketching system will appear with the cursor with the show with the relation for the automatically with the create with the symbol of the yellow with the background apply with the horizontal and vertical, the coincident with the tangent parallel and perpendicular relation. The figure 332 show with the two situation with the automatic relation apply with the horizontal tangent relation. Your fully defined sketch of the tool can be add relation with the dimension with the lock down any of the opening with the degree with the freedom in the sketch while with the option with all the any with the sketch enable the sound with like a better idea within this. Although you control how the sketch and even with the portion of the sketch are defined with the tool, use the mainly overcome a fear of the underdefined sketches. Sketches that are just randomly fully defined or worse to work with the undefined sketches as you are. Figure 332 for the automatic relations appear with the cursor for the better off with the fully defined the sketch menu. Although it seems obvious for someone to the position to say that you're better off with the fully understand the sketch with the large sketch with the fully defined with the random dimension. Figure 333. Troubleshooting something that goes wrong with a very large sketch can take a lot of time with a fully undefined sketch for the never go wrong. Unless you can move with a cursor, you can sketch with a larger, considerably break it into multiple features. If it has a lot of small and you're trying to use the sketch relation but is more flexible than the dimension. Figure 333 show the fully defined sketch automatically makes a math of fully defined sketch for the etny with full etny within sketch selected etny with relation to apply the selector all of the deselect all of the dimension, horizontal dimension scheme, vertical dimension scheme, dimension placement above, below, with the right and left of the sketch. Alright, the add relation tool for these type of times you have the manually added relation for the sketch element, the generally based for the automatic sketch relation for the tool, with the menu of the editing with the non allow always possible. Select the sketch editing and pick up the relation. For figure 334 for the manually adding sketch for the relation select with etnies. Show this over here on the left is the added relation with the show with the right angle on a perpendicular line. Selected etny with existing relation with the undefined coordinate, tangential, concentric, equal, fixed, or equal converted length. Your lightning bolt on your perpendicular line with a 90 degree symbol. The automatic relation setting with the turned over the default is turned on by default. When sketching if the display with the relation that suggests that such as a tangent coincident Small yellow icon on top of the cursor interferences are separated with the cover for the next section of the chapter. Add with the relation with the cover, current with the sketch, add with the seven, the relation with the display with the small icon with the curve that do not have a yellow background. They may not added as relation with the sketch figure 332 show with example the automatic relation with the end being added with the sketch adding with those created. The equal sign of the scan equal to the sketch search active with the drawing sketch for the adding with the equal length with the radius evident will with the sketch equal size sketch relation with those etnies. Now we have the dimension signs, vertical and horizontal. These, again, isolated change dimension tools used only when the drawing identifies the dimension have changed since the drawing was last saved. This will be covered later in the chapter. Inferencing in sketch. Inferencing refers to blue dotted lines in the display with the sketch mode with the cursor aligned with the endpoint with the center point of the origin. Interferencing creates sketch relation, but only when the symbol is shown with the sketch cursor in the yellow background. When the cursor displays a small sketch relation from the symbol with the yellow background with the automatic relation that will be applied with the relation symbol with the white background with the relation with the interference will not be applied with the actual sketch relation with the symbol with the blue background relation with the have been applied with the existing sketch to be aware of the difference of the variation. Difference of the color schemes can use each color with a different your system. The color may be green in the SolidWorks 2008 or later. The symbol looking with the same with regardless of the background of the color. 2 show with the symbol of various inference with the automatic relation colors. Applied sketch relation the difference among the three types of symbol applied with the background color of the white, yellow, and blue, respectively. Show the symbol, the meaning of the symbol along X and Y and along Z. Show that at the intersection of two faces coincidental with the collinear, the coincidental, co-radial, equal curvature, fixed horizontal, intersection, midpoint, offset, on the edge, on surface, parallel, perpendicular, pierce, symmetric, tangent, vertical, and display detail relations from fully defined sketch. Alright, exploring sketch settings. In addition to the sketch tool, the sketch tool settings are in control sketch. For the sketch settings are found with the two locations. For the first location, tools option sketch. In the chapter, I cover the settings with the found with the second location, tool sketch settings, and with shown in figure 335 with the setting with the mainly with the effect with the sketching relations. Automatic relation with the described earlier with the unwanted with the default with the add with the relation with the newly sketch adding with the automatic solve with the if it is for the turn on with the one default with the main chain with the sketch with the adding with the relation with the change with the dimension solve with the automatically immediately update with the sketch with the reflect with the changes. One automatic solve with the setting with the turn off with the change with the deferred until the you exit with the sketch with the turn off with the automatic setting with the back on. The setting and show the tools sketch settings automatic relation with automatic solve the enable sketch contours now solve the move and the attach segment of the drag override the dimension of the drag or the move of the pen set things and custom menus can be useful to prevent intermediate solutions. For example, with half of the change with the made with the make up of the problems with the sketch. It can be useful with the confident with the overcome with the will correct with the rarely you with the option you could probably exhibit that you can find without even knowing that the option was there at all. If you import a large drawing with the XDX or a drawing format, the drawings import the sketch with the even the SolidWorks sketch with the drawing with the SolidWorks may automatically turn off with the automatic solve. The same with the performance and speed with the reasons for those files on this type. The enable snapping. Also turn on the default by default with enable the cursor to snap with the endpoint with the existing sketch. Even to help that you would make with the cleaner sketch with the turn over the setting of the off of the automatic relation with the disable. Although the icon setting remain with the depressed with the automatic relation that are not created. Hold down with the control key with the sketching with the disable the snap. Hold down with the control key while dragging sketching with the with the functions like with the copying of the sketch of the geometry. No solve of the move that is discussed in the sketch toolbar section. Shade with the sketch of the contour with the described earlier with the turn off with the default. Adding shading of the inside with the enclosed with the sketch area with the enables one selection click selection with all the in the contour with the moving of the contour just with the drag with the shaded area. No solve move with the all with the turn off with the default with the rarely use the option with the mainly useful with the moving end with the large sketch with the where there are a lot of existing relation with the preventing a move with the detached segment on the drag. Setting it also turned off with the default when you have it turned on with the detached segment with the drag feature that enables you to pull the single sketch element all the way from the chain element. For example, if you have the rectangle, you wanted to detach one over the line for the rest of the rectangle, you would use the setting would have the draw extra the geometry with the trim and the delete the lines in order to relieve the endpoint of the override dimension of the drag. With the setting of the setting is off by default. When you turn it on, it enables you with the drag fully with the defined sketch geometry dimension up to date with the match for the drag side. With another setting that should be as sparingly. You can also use it doing some of the concept of the work. You should leave it off when working with reduction data with its reasons. Pen settings that you covered later in the chapter section. Sketching with a touch interface. Note: combining override dimension from the drag with the instant 3D can be very handy with the concept of the work and enabling you the drag sketch of the model face with the edges easily. Using Sketchbox. Sketchbox are a collection of the sketch engine that can be treated with a signal engine that can be with you with a single document shared between the documents. Can you with the sketch block with the part with the assembly with the drawing with the create with the sketch box, so you can select the group of the sketch entities and click on the Make Block button with the block toolbar. Select the tools block with the Make and the very selection. If it's not necessary, you can also select the entity after involved with the command of the blocks make with internal with a particular document that may be solved with the external file with the external save with the block with the link for each of the document where the U with the if of the block with the chain with the update with the documents where used. You can use the block with the conjunction with the make path with the function mentioned earlier in the chapter with the either create a functional layout of the mechanism. You can also use the block and assembly with the build of the parts and the context. Refer to chapter 16 with working with assembly sketch with the layout for more in depth with the examination assembly with expects. Aspect block with Solidworks in chapter 26 with the annotation with the symbol to use within its blocks of the 2D drawing. The tools are available in the blocks toolbar. Our stated the make block has a star with an A and a circle on it. Create with the sketch block with the select with the sketch and have the position manipulate with the denote the insertion point of the block. Blocks made attached with any endpoint but insert points file with the cursor and then show the pencil over the A block. Edit blocks enable you to edit with existing blocks if you were the regular sketch, and then the A block insert with the insert you select the list of the open block browse the location where the blocks are stored. You have the insertion point with the U for the edit block function. Add or remove the plus or minus A with the add enables you to add or remove the sketch and even the block without deleting them from the sketch while editing a block. The rebuild show the traffic light also change with the A rebuilding allows you to change the block reflect with the external relation without existing block. Exiting the block, for example, if you have the block and sketch with the sketch line with coincidentally one of the endpoints of the box, you may edit the box if you reference for the endpoint with the move the result of the line with the sketch will now move until you edit the block with the use of the rebuild block function. Or then show the A with a disk, which means save or save block sketch as a block, save the selected block as external file, while the solid block extension save the selected sketch as a block. The picture exploded block removes all of the sketch and even the block and brings them into the current sketch, and then show the belt chain that enables you to make the brief chain with the round with the set with the pulleys. Each pulley must be a block. After activating with the command right click of the sketch with the block, you can select with each of the pulley with the air of the pulley with the sketch. Switch side of the pulley with the which of the belt goes. You can also compensate with the thickness of the belt with the important bolt of the side of the belt or contact with the pulley with the drive of the pulley arrangement using the length of the belt. Alright, work with reference geometry. Reference geometry, Solidworks, you with the help of the tablet's location of the geometry, you can physically tell the structure of the planes, action for the coordinate system of the point for the figure 36, you can use the reference geometry, the step of the characteristic finish for the solid model before, models created to include for the item that you want to make the another part of the assembly later, with the mate reference of the classify with the reference geometry for the dealt with the assembly of the chapter. Figure 336 with the reference geometry toolbar shows the plane, a cutting plane line, a UCS, a dot, and a datum point target, a cube inside a cube, and then a clip art cube. The importance working with the reference geometry becomes obvious the situation with the need with the create with the geometry that does not line up with the standard plane with you might use the plane with the represent with the face of the axis with the represent with the center holes. X often use the tables with the directions of the plastic part with the become with the default with the never truly have any vertical edge of the axis very clearly with the establish the direction of the pull of the mode coordinate system. Some of the handy, especially with the translating part with the one shape with the purpose of the machine, the some of the type of the solve the works usually with a model within such a way with the model working with the made simply with the choice for the how with the part, the origin position relative to the feature of the part, however the rapid prototype of the machine with the bowl building and the machine metal manufacturer application that may have the different requirement that is part of the mold or builder. You can cannot account for the need for the downstream of the application for the initial with the choice for the original placement, but you can also create with the preference coordination system for those with the downstream application used. Coordinating with fantastic input with the mates, especially with the defined smart mates that have the same functionality with the origin, offering the option for the defined location orientation within only one mate. Creating planes the most commonly used the type of the reference geometry, the cover, the use of the sketching and cutting of the extrude, with the condition of the more of the plane, property management for the shown, figure 337 for the start, with the selecting mode, with the face of the edge of the point, vertice of the other sketch for the reference geometry. You want to have some of the relation with the new plane, use the constraints like the sketch relation with the select of the reference, for example, in figure 337 for the new plane, with the tangent with the select of the first reference, cylindrical face at the end of the L. At the end of angle, select your second reference of the plane with the ground. News about the method is that there's a lot more of the option creating plane, but in the previous method, bad news about the option not spelled out anywhere that you can have to make the selection before the show for the available constraint, but you may need to experiment with this interface to see if the works best for the type of the modeling you do. The one of the option of the problem property plane, property manager for the flip normal, the option have the like application until we start getting with the heavy parametric editing. Keep the existing of the option in the back of your head because you someday run into a situation where you may change the end, add a sketch for the future flips in an unexpected way that will be the time to use this option. Figure 337 shows creating a new plane with a set of selection of the constraints. Show the plane button over here in your reference geometry. Second reference, third reference, and optional. Newer function of the plane feature for the will allow if you take the naked with the plane player well as level the display of select the point with the show of the hidden functionality that enable you to have the show of the plane command select the point of the origin vertex for the click of the pair well to the screen with the option. Tip, cover the most of the plane screen with the existing plane with the plane interface with the show of customize with the context with the toolbar include with the plane command with the select with the face with the geographic layer you find with the plane command the next with the cursor working within the areas shows the breaking plane area with the active with the creative the pivot point with the part that do not have the hole with the type of the geometry mating for the other parts you can also use with the direction pull parts with the plastic parts over the mother molds as frequently with each with the step of the direction rotation draft with the number over the feature with the figure 338 with the first three feature of the plastic part are established from the standard plane with considering axis for the setup of the this way with the standard feature for the your templates for the X and Y, the Z direction axis they can be effective with the display with the moving the part of the orthogonal directions and part of the pattern of the draft directions. You're using coordinate system. The coordinate system Solidworks primarily use the import with the export, but they also can use them for mates and mass property. The other purpose of the coordinate system usually with the positions by selecting a point side of the edge to determine the direction. Figure 339 shows. Creating axis for the establishing direction, axis for the 1 point, 1 line edge, axis for 2 points, 2 point vertex with cylindrical conal face point and face and plane. 339 for the coordinate system export with this assembly with the new original location selection edge of the X and Y and Z axes, as long with system option files set up the solid surface geometry wireframe, and it had the system operation file format. Alright, Property Manager. For the assignment of the coordinate system along with the export option of the dialog box, you can access save it as the dialog box. File type of the drop down, set for the export format, with the U with the coordinate system, U with the translate, the type of the IGES, the pair of solid. Clicks option button with the save it as dialog box. After saving with the transition file, with the at the bottom of the export option dialog box selection box with the output for the coordinate system appears. U for the coordinate system with the mass property check for the tools to evaluate mass property for the menu with the select with the output with the coordinate system shown in figure 340. 340 is assigned with the coordinate system with the mass property system and the overall mass property recalculate hidden modes by with components to create center of the mass feature showed well to be math report coordinate values relatively and show the report. Using point with the reference geometry for the point reference geometry feature with the frequently you with the how for the sum of the situation, nothing else with the job that's caused well. But nothing and same with the sketch point, but it does not require the sketch to be open. It's just a reference point that you can place with the space with the figure 4 with the 3041 show for the property menu for the point reference geometry feature for the excellent you for the capability to mark for the center of the face. Reference for the point sketch point with the somewhat of the different, but then you can sketch for the point for the 2D and 3D sketch for the it can be dragged with the driven the dimension of the sketch relation, stretching with the touch of the sketching with the touch interface. The sketching with the touch interface limited to the hardware specifically developed for the purpose of the you can use the Wacom tabulets for the touch input with the referring large touch monitors. In this case, some case with the touch display with the able to distinguish between the use of pen stylus for the input with in your finger. Typically, fingers are used to manipulate view of the rotation and zoom. 341 show the point reference the geometry feature for the shovel move of the creation as you find as well. The points are concerned with the center face and intersection protection on point, and then some other split. The pen used for the task required with more precision select the interface elements of the sketching confined with the space of the setting of the tool to interface for the tools option touch is shown in figure 342. The setting of the touch surfaces and set system options. It shows touch mode, chain with the touch menus appear. Beyond the settings of SolidWorks that makes available the sketch ink tab with the toolbar with the pen automatically available the command manager for the toes for the enabled with the device with the sketching toolbar shown in figure 343. The pen toolbar enables you to change the color width as shown on the screen. If you have the auto sketch ability turned on, you will take your pen sketch and convert it into lines and over to add any of the entry with the pen sketch under the regular sketch for the feature manager. If the auto sketch entry is not turned on, you will get whatever the screen, whatever the squiggle you enter with your pen. The pen sketch for the squiggle are shown in figure 344. 343 show the sketch ink tab with the command manager. Show the exit pen erase for the touch with auto shape the auto sketch instant and sketch contours, colors, and other buttons. Pen sketch entry with the feature menu with the pen draw squiggling the screen and tutorial learning using sketch relation for the tutorial. Make sure to get with all the major functions of the sketch SolidWorks sketch. Almost every part of the build will describe the sketch. So this is the skill worth mastering. Follow these steps to learn all the sketch relations. On the website with the Bible inch template with the PRT with the dot with the template U with the tutorial with the chapter 3 folder with the material that you can download the chapter with the Wiley website with the folder with the hard drive with the D library with the Bible templates you can put with the over the, where you like it with the recommended with the non-sif with the drive with the location you like it with the overwritten laws. Go with the tools option file location add with the path with the document type of the template list for the location from the templates folder that you've created. Click with the new icon with the new Solidworks document dialog. Make sure you see the advanced interface with the button with the lower left-hand corners with the show. You should say novice with the button labeled advanced. Click with the open to the advanced interface. Click with the tab of the interface that has the name of the new templates folder that you created. Open a new part with the template you just set up. If the plane showing with the graphics window with the turn them off with the go to view hide and show with the plane with the turn off all the planes if you want to turn off the single plane with the right click with the plane with the graphic window with the feature menu with the select hide. Next, you see the select the front plane or the feature manager with the select with the sketch button with the sketch tab with the command manager with the right click with the plane with the select insert sketch click with the line tool with the sketch tab with the command manager. Move the cursor near the original with the yellow conceive and special box to draw the line horizontal with the original. With remember that you can sketch with the line and two with the wave with the click of the click of the click of the drag. Make sure with the light and snaps with the horizontal there is the yellow with the horizontal relation with the property manager with the line show with the line with the horizontal relation with the all. You also know if the line is in the back of the free endpoint with the blue after you press escape clear with the tool. The means of the line is fully with the defined with except for its length. You can just test it with the drag and the blue endpoint. Alright, back to your sketch button. Click the Smart Dimension tool with the sketch toolbar. You have the click with the line with it, just the drew with the play with the dimension, with the prompt with the dimension, with the type of the 1.0. If not, with the double click with the dimension modify the dialog box will appear with enabled you with the chain with the dimension, with the same with the prompt with the dimension found with the tool with the option general item input dimension value. Alright, back to the symbol on the left. They draw two more icons with the right triangle, the feature for 345, the sketch with the relation symbol, the do not show with the display, with the turn on them, clicking the view sketch with the relation. If you want to sketch with the hotkey, with the sketch relation with the usual, but often getting into the way, but you can click with the triangular area with the Solidworks and shape with the triangle with the shade sketch contours active with the tools with the default on the right end of the sketch with the command manager tool. Alright, figure 344, you draw with the right triangle. Alright, drag with the, and then they show with the cursor with the drag with the end of the triangle, with the drag with the input with the more direct way with the chain with the geometry, drag with the line directly with the, also working with the causing with the angle with the lines, with the chain with the sketch with the lead with the ghost with the drag with the tool that you can see whenever the started, know the setting of leaving the ghost, the dragging sketch from the file with the tool for the option sketch with the ghost image on the drag. Show the dimension line, smart dimension tool with the click of the horizontal angle line with the issue with the angle of dimension with the play for the angle of dimension, give it the value of 30 degrees. Show the fillet tool. Click the sketch fillet with the radius of the tenth of an inch. Click at each of the three corner points with the option with the properties manager and OK with the right mouse button. Enter for the whiteboard. Accept for the preview with the fillet. Solidworks. Create for the virtual sharp to the end point for the horizontal line. Preserve the connection point with that 1.0 dimension of the figure 346. Show with the sketch point with the point you may now want to turn off the sketch relation display with the cover of the screen. It's getting pretty busy. You can find the setting of the view height. Show with the sketch relation with the heads up the view toolbar. Quicker access. Then the line. Draw a line. Starting with the midpoint with the angled line with the midpoint with the highlight with the move with the cursor closer with draw the line perpendicular with the angled line, with the yellow lines show with the perpendicular lines, follow this line with the yellow perpendicular symbol will appear with the cursor to make this line approximately 12 hundredths of an inch long with feet with the back of the cursor show with the length of the line you draw it. Show with the 15 draw two more adding ending end point of the sketch fill is shown figure 347 interfacing the line with the second angled line and with the anchor. Then you use the trim tool, click the trim tool, sketch tool to make sure the trim option is set for the closer, click with the angled line with the triangle between the two sketch for the setup step of the 15, the trim tab of the section, make with the sketch for the single closed loop. Warning may appear when the because you with the midpoint relation line become the trim and you no longer want this relation, but you want the lines to intersect with the ends. You select yes if the prompt. Or the right angle of the perpendicular line, add a sketch relation with the click one of the two parallel lines, click on the other, now equal, now click on the equal in the property manager, make the two lines equal length. Figure 336 shows the add sketch fillet. Now we have a fillet triangle with a radius angle with a dimension of the one, and then the center points also marked. Figure 34 shows adding some lines to it. Alright, 18. Add smart dimension. Click with the smart dimension for the tool. Add a line of dimension for the one line with the equal to the 1/8 of an inch for the turn for the one line black. Back, add a dimension for the black line and makes of a quarter of an inch. Result of the fully defined sketch that's shown in figure 348. And then now you've had the fully defined sketch, which will look like this. Save the part in sketch relation tutorial slide bar close to the part. Alright, tutorials using black belts. Sometimes I am made with the things with the dome of the SolidWorks, even with a fairly simple tool with the one of the time of the designing machine with the tutorial. Some of the extra means for the view of the blocks and belts available. The tool set with the various situations probably helps to learn about the blocks and belts. Open the new part of the inch of the unit. Draw with the dimensions, sketch the front plane with connected with the origin shown with the figure 349. Sketch with the rename layout, sketch the inch of the either by clicking it twice with the slowly double clicking on the name of the sketch with the feature inch power by selecting it and figure pressing F2. 349 show the layout sketch. Alright, now we exit the sketch by clicking on the confirmation corner. Exit the sketch with the upper right hand corner of the graphic window. Not the red X. On the second sketch with the front plane with the draw of the circle with a 6-inch diameter center with the origin and the the sketch shown with the not reopening of the first sketch, and then you see the rectangular with the inside circles around the center point of the rectangular center of the origin, and then show the equal sign on the side to adjacent side rectangle to make with the equal sketch relation between them to make the rectangular into square, but it still does not define size. And then go to the new file, click the smart dimension, apply with the 1 inch of the dimension to one side with the turn off the smart dimension. Click it again in toolbar and press escape. The automated text blocks tool are activated with the make a block, and then show the star with the A with the make a block. You can also activate the command through the tools and block and make. And then show a dotted inside a circle line and some kind of lasso window, circle with a square with the clicking and the dragging the box includes all of the items of the property made to the left of the display with the circle 6 line with the area to be blocked with the Solidworks default force with the U with the lasso selection. You can also switch to the box selection tool menu with the tools option selection box. This would be a good tool to put on a hotkey. Figure 10, expand with the insertion pane with the property pane with the cuff with the blue, manipulate with the origin and perimeter with the graphic green with the click of the origin, drag with the stand with the circle with the click with the green check mark with the income with the exit with the make of the light block dialog box is shown figure 350. Making the block show with the block it needs insertion point, and the item of the block now turn gray with the click any of the block with the drag it out of the way. Anywhere on the block to drag it out of the way, drag with the chain with the circle with the drop into the part of the origin. Alright, then it shows the click insert block with the block toolbar. This should be only a single block with the name block 1. Open the blocks box with the place of the block opposite sharp corner of the layout sketch. 13. Create another block identical to the first one except for the diameter of 3 inches instead of 6 inches. You can do this by first selecting the block, edit blocks for the toolbar, copying with the window, selecting Control C. Then edit box to edit block, paste to Control V, regular sketch. Make sure that they also change the insertion point with the second block to the center of the radius. Insert a second instant with the second block with make sure that both of them may have the center of the circle the two remaining intersection point with a four shaded sided shape. Layout sketch. At this point, you should sketch should look like this in Figure 351. Block placement. Click on the belt and change tool with the block with the toolbar. Select the block with the counterclockwise with the order of the top of the pulley so that the belt members selection side of the edge shown figure 352. With the last of the pulley, you will have the click of the flip bent side with the arrow with the edge of the pulley belt to correct way around the pulley. If this doesn't work, clear the selection box with the try to select the pulleys in a different order. Press F on the keyboard to get the display with the zoom to fit, but to make sure that enable the belt with the option select with enable the U with the make with the pulley move the same way with the would result in the real belt driven the mechanism. This will help you calculate the required length of the belt. Click the U for the belt, the thickness for the option with the sign with a 1/4 inch for the thickness of the belt. It should be offset with the pulley with the click of the green check mark icon. Click and drag with the corner of the square of the pulley. With all the pulleys should be turned off if they were real mechanisms of the ratio, but they also observe with the because of the small pulleys rotate with faster with the larger ones. Then save this part of the block and belts tutorial solid PRT with except this part. Show the belt placement, belt members, and then the properties of the belt length, driven, the U of the belt thickness, engaging belt. Tutorial creating reference geometry. Tutorial step for creating the reference geometry existing preparation, locating a 3D feature on the website with the chapter 3D reference geometry. Start with a solid sprint with the U of the tutorial chapter 3 file with the data download with the Wiley website. Open the file with the download material with the chapter 3 folder with the chapter 3 reference geometry. Start with a solid print with the feature with a SolidWorks print. Feature manager for the top of the panel with a double click with the panel. Feature manager with a double click with a 3/4 inch for the dimension with the screen with the chain with the 3 and 35 cents with an inch for the click with the rebuild symbol. The traffic light watch the update with the plane locate with the multi-base with the part with the click on the green check with the mark with the accept with the chain with the exit with the modify box. Then click on the access toolbar with the between the reference geometry fly out with the feature for the tab of the command manager with the default install. Select the inside with the hole with the part in figure 35, 353, create the axis with the center line with the hole should know with the temporary with the axis with the automatically created. For cylindrical faces, by making the true axis of the feature helps the one stand out with a different one from the other holes of the part. The selection of cylindrical conical faces the option automatically activated by the selection of the cylindrical face of the hole, except for the result of the green check mark with the selection of the setting of the complete. Creating an axis, show the face edge one edge of the two plane with the 2-point vertex for the cylindrical conical face points of the face point, and over here show them on the right with the show the axis U with the X point. Click on the plane tab with the reference geometry file with the layout with the feature tab with the command manager with the select with the layered cylindrical face with the part with the first reference axis shift with the create with the second reference go to view with the height show with the axis with the cannot be seen with the axis with the make sure with the first reference using tangent constraint with the check with the reference U with the coincidental constraint with the make with the plane tangent with the main cylinder with this part with the go to the part and hold the shown figure 354. So we've now created a plane with the first reference, the second reference, the third reference option, the flip it normally, and then click on the green mark, check mark with accept the result. Again, open a new sketch with the new plane, and then go back to the axis option with the click of view, hide, show menu, activate the temporary axis option. You should now see a blue axis without the names appearing along the center line with every conical and cylindrical face of the model except the face created with the fillet and shape of the features. Note that the cube or the view orientation toolbar appear with the plus with the space bar available for the heads up the view toolbar. They can also create the control space to access view. Select your cube. If your view is already normal selected plane with a double click with the normal 2 with the view sketch with the 180 degrees above opposite with the setting of the auto rotate with the view normal. The sketch plane with the sketch is open and located with the tools option sketch. Or the arrow off the sketch plane is a sketch plane with either with the graphic window, the feature menu, with the press of the space bar with the keyboard, double click with the normal, to click with the push pen, with the key of the box is available. There are other ways to accept the access with the command, but this is the method that works regardless for the interface setup. And then the box with the center point with the rectangle with the create the rectangular center with the round with the temporary axis with the large cylindrical face. Make sure that the center point in which the first click of the will make with the pick up with the coincident with the automatic relation with the temporary axis. To make sure with the second with the click of the point with the corner with the rectangle that do not pick up with the automatic relation. This shown in figure 355. 355, we're creating a rectangular center of the temporary axis, and then you can then it shows the explode with the block. You can tell with the relationship applied with the view height and show menu of the active sketch relation. Make sure the center point is coincidental relation with the drone with the cones or the relation. You know, the temporary axis is not in the same plane with the sketch plane with the view of the not normal to the sketch plane. Pick up the automatic relation between the center point with the rectangle and the temporary axis will be difficult. Alright, your dimensions. Use smart dimensions to apply with the dimensions shown. They get 355. Note with the 3, 4, 50,000, 403, and 450,000 of an inch dimension for the goes of the part with the origin. You can select from either of the graphics window with the feature manager of the create with the rectangle, the center with the temporary with the axis. Best practice. If the best practice dimension create a sketch for the relation they have the fuse of the relation, you should travel the part of the origin of the sketch of the plane with the possible dimension of the reference, the geometry of the bed with the dimension of the model edge of the although of the download way as possible. Use dynamic reference visualization under the view with the view interface with the give the visual cues regarding the parents and children links. Then shove the extruded toolbar between the feature tube with the cool man. Rotate with the model with the drag of the mouse wheel with the slightly. You can achieve the side of the extrusion preview shown in figure 357. Now then the arrow button show the arrow the crossway button adjust the direction. Extrude with the icon with the arrows shift below with the direction heading with the boss extruded property manager. Creating extrusions, and then it shows a picture of that using the next ending with the condition make with the extruded solid go up to the next solid with the U that it encounters. U for the view menu with the turn off the display axis for the temporary axis and planes. The bottom line is to create a new sketch for the editing existing one. The Solidworks edge give it the name of the one with the planar face. You can edit with one sketch at a time. There are things you cannot do while in a sketch. Master at practicing creating a new sketch. Use the various sketch at and on the sketch toolbar. Familiarize yourself with the range of the tools available to how they work. Custom create the new reference geometry using plans to create the new sketches. As you get deeper in this book, you will learn more of the reference geometry tool form now with the primary focus to establish plane sketch of the rely on the editing of the relation to the solid geometry. Mastering it. Master it. The practice of the redefining with the plane with the sketch for the chain effect of the resolving 3D geometry is builder skill with creating the plane with available the option and imagine the way to define the plane with the reselection mod with available to constrain. See how many different times you can rate it. Use the range of the sketch techniques while often getting in the use of just lines and arcs. There are times there are more advanced sketches and even the more appropriate ellipses, parabolas, conicals, splines, even the slides of the polygon sketches, texts, or valid sketches that need to be useful in the certain situation. Master practice using some of the more advanced sketch entities in the sketch toolbar. Alright, chapter 4, creating simple parts and drawings.